Welcome back to my series, Orientation and Mobility Mastery. This series is for orientation and mobility specialists, teachers of students with visual impairments, and anybody who's working with somebody who has a visual impairment and you want to know how to help them get around their environment and know where they are in space. If you don't know me, hi, I'm Cassie Maloney. I'm the founder here at the Society of Exceptional Educators, and I've been a practicing orientation and mobility specialist for almost 20 years now. Super fun to say. This video, we get into really common questions such as what types of canes are there and why would you prescribe one kind of cane versus another to a learner. We also get into the two main types of cane use when we're traveling and even how to detect obstacles, and what you're really going to want to stick around for, the common mistakes people make when they are traveling, especially in new environments. So there are multiple kinds of canes. That you can use when you're traveling or helping your learner be able to travel in new environments. First and foremost, we're going to go with the Ambutech style cane. I've mentioned this in a few videos in the past that this is more of an AFB, American Federation for the Blind style of cane. And we denote that because it folds. Also, these canes can be made of aluminum. Some of them can be made of graphite. Some of them are made of fiberglass. Typically, the most common ones are made of aluminum, so they're a little bit heavier, and there's typically a cord in the middle. The biggest difference here is when you are using this kind of cane, you typically use the vision that you have. When you are learning how to travel with an NFB style cane, that's what this kind of cane is. These are typically just fiberglass. Some of them collapse down, but the tips are typically metal. In this cane training, you don't use your vision. What they believe at the NFB is that cane skills and vision are separate, and when you remove the vision, you can focus on the cane skills. I don't disagree. It's a really great philosophy. Typically, you'll see adults using these longer canes and adventitiously blind adults using these longer canes, and you'll see children using the canes that fold. It's just kind of the way that it is. Now, what do you do if you have a student who can't use a cane? Maybe they need something a little different. Well, there are adaptive mobility devices, AMDs. Now, these you can make on your own or you can buy them from Ambutech. Are typically made out of PVC, and they come in a variety of shapes and sizes. Now, the different shape is going to depend on what your learner needs, of course, right? Because this is all individualized. But we've got some that just have little rollers on the bottom. We have some that will jut out in front. Some of them have not just more PVC, but actual wheels on them. We have some that you can then add onto your cane and add some PVC so that it is an L bar, or at the very top, a T bar, or my favorite, which is very difficult to do on this style of cane, is a Y bar here. There are also another kind of cane that's pretty new to the scene. It's called a Safe Toddles cane, and that is where it's an AMD, but the child has a belt around them for our kiddos who can't hold on to the AMD. So you can look into those and see what kind of cane might be the best for you. If you're a person who has a visual impairment, definitely talk to your orientation and mobility specialist, because each of these is going to have a different reasoning, and there's going to be a different style or different way that you might use them. I mentioned that there are basically two types of cane styles, or traveling, how do you say, cane techniques? Cane techniques. The third one I'll show you as well for AMDs, but for now let's just focus on the first two because it's typically what we're going to be using. You've got constant contact, which will be where your cane tip stays on the ground the whole time as you're traveling. So it'll look a little bit like this. My cane tip stayed on the ground the whole time. For my NFB style canes, you might use 2-point touch. Now, you can use 2-point touch with the folding cane. That is absolutely fine. It's just heavier and clunkier, and typically people will need to have a really high level of skills to be able to use 2-point touch with this style of cane, but you absolutely can. I'm gonna demonstrate it with the lighter cane just to show you what it looks like. With the lighter cane, you're gonna tap it like so. When you're working with an AFB style cane or a folding cane, you're gonna wanna hold the cane along the edge of the grip. It has a golf grip, as you would say, and then you're gonna wrap your fingers around and point your pointer finger. Now what that's gonna do is allow your muscles to actually activate all the way from your finger all the way down your forearm. You can also wrap your finger underneath if you like that. Either way, you're gonna put your hand close towards your belly button, but just slightly in front with a slight bend in the elbow. Watch, I'll show you. So like this, or wrapping the finger under. I typically like the finger on top because it allows the fingers underneath to have a lot of grip and a lot of strength, and then your pointer finger is really just the navigation. And then what'll happen is your cane will go in between the sides of your hand. When you're using 2-point touch, kind of same thing, but you're gonna have your hand a little bit looser, and then the cane is gonna go right in the middle. Feel that like good part right there. And then the cane will bounce back and forth between your thumb and then the fingers, and all of your fingers will be wrapped around just a little bit looser. You don't have to grip it so tight. Just chill with it. And so then it goes left and right. And then the cane goes between each side. You see that? So you're a little bit gently passing it off, but when you're actually walking, you don't even really think about it. It'll just do it on its own. And you notice how my elbow's pretty bent the whole time? I don't want to keep my elbow super duper duper straight, and I don't want a super engaged tight body. Engaged, but not like, ugh. Just kind of chill. Now let's talk about the AMD. Now this style of AMD is specifically made so that the learner is going to hold on to the AMD just at the top. They can hold on to it at the shaft part, but I typically don't have that. I typically have my students hold on to the cane at the top. Now, as they get older, you might be able to move their grip down to the shaft, but at that point, I typically take away the AMD altogether and I modify an actual cane. Now this obviously is not my size, okay? When you're using constant contact and you're using an AFB style cane, you want the cane to come up to your chest bone all the way up to your clavicle, somewhere in there, depending upon how fast you walk when you're traveling. That'll be about 1.5 to 2 steps in front of your body. But the NFB style cane, you want it to come up to at least your chin. So this one's even a little too small for me. I'd gotten this one for a student. You want this one to be 3 steps ahead of you. But the common mistakes that I see happening all the time are a few things. A, your cane is too wide. Like, you're not out there. You just want your cane to arc to be just outside of your shoulders. Very small, much smaller than you think you are, most likely. The other thing that I see often is that the cane goes over to the dominant hand. So it just hits midline, the arm is too relaxed, you have no engagement in it, you're literally just chilling, and you're just like, that's not gonna do anything. What does this do? What about if someone comes right here? It's not gonna work. And this goes into a much bigger problem, one that Donna Sauerberger talked about at the International O&M Online Symposium one year, and it really brought this to my forefront of my brain, is that oftentimes people think that just because they have a cane in their hand that they are going to be safe. But if they aren't using the skills at the level of efficiency that they need them to be, then the cane is only going to be as effective as their level of efficient use. So to put it into layman's terms, people typically think that just because I have a cane, right, I'm going to be 100% safe and have 100% of the obstacles detected and, be able to cross 100% of the streets 100% of the time. But they're only using the cane at 20% effectiveness. So of course the cane's not going to be 100% effective if they're only using the cane at 20% level of skill. So if you do have a visual impairment, one thing that I'm going to recommend is that you get an orientation and mobility specialist and that you do practice these skills with them. There's a long wait. I know there's a long wait for O&M specialists, and there's a lot of people buying canes off the internet and just trying and figuring it out. And yeah, that can get you so far, right? But are you actually going to be able to replace your level of independence without specific instruction? Probably not. So make sure that you get on the lists really quickly. If you think that you're having any sort of visual issues, got to get the paperwork in and got to get on those lists. And whenever they call your name, show up ready to work. Because especially as an adult, your orientation and mobility time is not going to be that much. It's going to be very limited. And you're going to need to be able to do the work that's put in front of you, because an O&M specialist, pinky promise, they're going to hold you to a higher level of identity than you're holding yourself to. And if you want to have the level of independence that you used to have and or the level of independence that you could have, you need to do what they say. And that includes mastering cane skills. Because I guarantee you, if you were working on cane skills in your class, it's because you're not 100% efficient with it. And it's just like dancing. I love going dancing. You often have to work on your basics. These are basic skills. People want to come into the field and they want to give us all these softwares that make all these silly noises, and they think that it's going to do anything that the cane can't do. It's not. I know this is not the best, most exciting thing, right? We live in the world of YouTube. You're probably watching this on YouTube, where you can flip through multiple channels and see thousands, hundred thousands of videos in any given second. And your attention wants to go into bigger and better and bigger and better. And what's bigger, what's better, how do I master this faster? You master it by practicing, I promise. That's the only way to get better. Let me show you how to practice, huh? Yeah? Okay. So your orientation mobility specialist is going to tell you to use your cane all the time. And then the moment comes and you're going to leave it. That's where you're going wrong. Don't leave it. Bring it along with you. If you're a parent, you have a child who has a visual impairment, I know it's easier to just bring the kid with you to the grocery store and not bring the cane. I know. I have a kid who has different needs too. I get it, and parenting is so hard, I know, but you have to bring the cane every place you go. If you want your child to have a shot of independence in this crazy wild world, if you want to have a shot of laying down when they turn 18 or 22 and just taking a nap, you got to do the work now. I know it sucks sometimes. Okay, rant over. Let's move spots and go run into some stuff, yeah? Okay, let's do that. Look what I found. A pole in the middle of nowhere. Love it. Now, granted, I typically wouldn't be walking around in this environment, but there were poles sticking about everywhere, and this one was so weird that I wanted to film here. Okay, so of course you're going to be using your upper body protective technique. Remember we did that in that other video? When you find something, okay, you are going to stop, and then you are going to bring your cane up and down, and you're going to walk over to it. What people typically do is they find something and then they come down to the thing. Like, that's okay to just walk, to not move the cane up and down, but why not just lift it straight up and down and then come find it? You just bring your hand down your cane to find the thing. Pretty easy, huh? Let's go find something else. Came back to my original location so you can see what it looks like when you find like a wall or something. So you're just going to be using your cane like so. Find the wall. Then bring your cane up and down as you walk closer to the object, and then you can explore it. You don't need to start from here and like reach down and try to find, no, just bring your cane straight up and down, find it. Same thing is gonna go with like even doorways when you're looking for the handle, all that jazz. You just bring your cane, find something, bring your cane up to it, and then you step up to it. Pretty easy, yeah? Your cane finds something, you bring your cane straight up and down, and you kind of just step up to it. It happens pretty naturally, and then you can explore whatever it is. So when you find a curb, it's actually pretty much the same, just slightly different because you're going down and not up something, but your cane is going to find the change in terrain. This one is obviously a small curb, but I can still feel the difference. Then you're just gonna keep your cane there, bring your cane straight up and down as you walk up to it, yeah. And then with your cane, you can feel whatever it is. You can bend down and feel it if you want to. I don't really need to, it's a curb. And then my cane is going to extend forward to look for everything else. Find this, step up to it, explore, easy peasy. Today has been pretty fun, huh? Next week, let's actually go into a neighborhood and I'll show you how to cross streets and travel around in a neighborhood. That would be even more fun. Okay, I will see you next week. In the meantime, I hope that you like some of these other videos and make sure to get on our wait lists for any of our upcoming conferences. And I hope that you can use this information to help you take a step forward.